Hello, guys. Today, let's dive into the world of tone parameters. But first, a quick recap. Last time, we talked about sound splitting into two, noise and musical sound. Noise has irregular and unpredictable patterns. In contrast, musical sound has highly structured patterns, which you can see in its waveform, and we call this a tone. In the previous session, we showed a sine wave as an example of a regular and patterned waveform, which is one of the simplest waveforms. However, any sound with a structured pattern can be a musical sound. In other words, not just sine waves, but also square waves, triangle waves, sawtooth waves, and more. Now, in this session, we'll explore the elements of these structured sounds, known as tone parameters. There are 3 tone parameters in total: pitch, intensity, and tone quality. In a nutshell, pitch refers to the frequency, intensity represents the volume of the sound, and tone quality, also called timbre, relates to the musical texture. Let's take a closer look at each one. First off, let's talk about pitch. When the pitch is high, you get this sound. And when the pitch is low, you get that sound. Pitch is also known as frequency. They mean the same thing. In music, we express pitch with the musical alphabet like C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Frequency uses the unit hertz, which tells us the number of sound waves, cycles, per second. I've explained this in one of my Premiere Pro tutorials, so if you want to know more about it, I'll attach the link to the video. But for now, let me break it down quickly. Simply put, as pitch gets higher, more sound waves fit into 1 second. But here's the catch: the higher the frequency, the shorter the wavelength. Conversely, when pitch is lower, fewer sound waves fit into 1 second, and the wavelength gets longer. For example, the general range of human hearing is from about 20 Hz to 20 kHz. If it's 20 Hz, it means 20 sound waves per second. At 20 kHz, it's 20,000 Hz, meaning 20,000 sound waves in 1 second. Humans fall within this range, but other creatures can hear outside of it. Elephants and alligators use subaudible sounds, and there are ultrasonic sounds like dog whistles and bat pulses that we can't hear. In summary, the number of sound waves per second creates unique sounds. In music, we represent this as pitch using the musical alphabet. Take A3, a piano key with a frequency of 440 Hz, for instance. It serves as a vital standard in tuning instruments, making sure they all produce the same 440 Hz tuning, also known as harmony, involves adjusting various instruments to play the same key at the same time. Harmony includes both big and small meanings. I'll explain this in more detail in the next lesson. Another important standard is middle C or C3. It's a reference point for deciding notes on the bass or treble clef. Notes above middle C go on the treble clef, and those below go on the bass clef. Honestly, pitch covers a lot in music theory. If I were to write a music theory book, I would name it Pitch Theory. Anyway, we'll delve deeper into this, so keep it in mind for later. Another important thing about musical sounds is how loud or soft they are, which we call intensity or volume. Imagine when you play with toy drums or a piano. If you hit the drums or keys gently, the sound is quiet. If you hit them hard, the sound is loud. In music, we call this difference in how hard or soft you hit or press something a velocity. It's like turning up or down the volume on your toys. When we listen to music or use music programs, we often see something called a mixer. It looks like a board with sliders for each track, allowing you to adjust the volume of each sound. This is helpful in music production to control the intensity of each note, or beat for drums. It's like making some parts of the music louder and some softer, just like how you might play with your toys to make different sounds. Now, when we talk about volume levels in music, we measure them in decibels, dB. For example, 0 dB is the quietest sound the human ear can hear. Normal conversation happens at around 70 dB, and the volume of a jet taking off from a distance is about 120 dB. So, in music, understanding and controlling intensity or volume is crucial for creating a balanced and interesting sound. In simple terms, timbre is like the texture of sound. Imagine a flute and a violin playing the same note. They sound different. When we play middle C, a violin has a rich and warm tone, while a flute has a smooth and less complex tone. This difference comes from the materials vibrating, giving each a unique quality. So, that's the timbre. But I'm gonna ask you a slightly tricky question this time. Have you ever watched videos comparing a $70 violin to a $10 million violin, even though both are violins? They produce subtle but different textured sounds. But in music theory, the characteristic timbre of a sound is determined by the waveform. This is a better answer. If we dig even deeper into this idea, it comes down to how it vibrates. So, let's elucidate this phenomenon both scientifically and mathematically. Let's start with the scientific explanation. When we pluck a piano string for middle C, the string doesn't just vibrate along its whole length. It vibrates along regular fractional lengths of the string, known as modes of vibration. Each mode of vibration produces its characteristic frequency. Now, let's dive into the mathematical side. Even though we hear one sound like middle C, it's made up of many different frequencies. Music sounds keep forming patterns. When you hit a piano key, various frequencies, such as 100 Hz, 200 Hz, 300 Hz, 400 Hz, 500 Hz, and so on, create what we call a harmonic series. Let's explore the harmonic series through an example. When you press the A key, you see various frequencies. We organize these in a table. Explaining the table, the fundamental frequency is what we hear, the sound of pressing the piano key. The others aren't audible but exist as frequencies. Look at the numbers, they increase as multiples. The first and second have a 2-to-1 ratio, the first and third have a 3-to-1 ratio, and so on. This relationship is called an octave. In reality, it's more complex. Some follow octaves, while others exist independently. What we need to grasp is that pressing the A key produces the fundamental frequency, and other frequencies exist, following some octave relationship. Today, we covered a lot of content all at once. Sometimes, the best way to learn is to solve a few problems. So, let's solve a question with an answer. What are the 3 basic tone parameters? You can pause the video. The answers are pitch, intensity, and tone quality. Here are some other possible answers. 2. What are the frequencies of the subsequent harmonics if the frequency of the first harmonic is 100 Hz? The frequencies are 200, 300, and 500 Hz. This relationship, where the frequencies double or triple, is known as an octave. 3. The simplest waveform is wave, but we also have the simplest waveform is the sine wave, but we also have other waveforms such as square, triangle, and sawtooth. 4. The volume of sound is measured in The answer is decibels, dB. 5. The master tune standard for Western instruments is The answer is 440 Hz, A3. That's it for today. In the next session, we'll delve into the process of creating music, giving you an overview of music theory. See you next time.